Most people walk into a negotiation kind of on the defense, right, thinking it's a fight. But what if it's actually a dance that you're entering into? Because negotiation, when we see it on movies and we see it in its peak sort of excitement, is where there's a winner takes all approach. But
the drama.
First part we want to do, Ben, is we want to get our audience to have a mindset of a great negotiator. It's a conversation, not a confrontation. So that was part of that intro, and it's largely about two or more. But you just think about it: two people talking at each other, or is it two people exchanging information with each other?
Yeah, that's right, Bryce. I mean, ultimately, we've got to think about the parties that are involved in the transaction. So we've got the vendor or vendors. We've got the selling agent, who's the sort of intermediary. And then obviously on our side, we've got the buyer or buyers. And each party has a role to play in terms of how that sets up. But the intermediary, that the agent that's hopefully facilitating the exchange, there's a lot associated to that, isn't there, Bryce?
There is. And part of that is understanding the agent's motivation. This is the greatest part of the mindset of a great negotiator, because you're not just negotiating with a person, you're negotiating with their incentives. And that's super important to know. So there's a couple of incentives that we can help you with. Number one is you're negotiating with their commission. They ultimately are serving an agency role in order for them to achieve the outcome that they're wanting to achieve. I haven't met too many agents, Ben, who would do it without getting paid. So it's just a part of their world. And if the sooner you realize that you're dealing with three major motivations from a real estate agent. Number one is their commission, that they get paid. Number two is quite often quick turnover. Because if you think about how an agent works, Ben, I know you know this, but just for the point of the exercise, if you think about how an agent works, the more transactions that they can get done, the more money they will be able to make. Now, at the end of the day, there's only a certain amount of time in a week. And agents have what's called an ideal week. And quite often on Monday, they make calls. On Tuesday, they do caravans to look at their properties. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, they do inspections. On Fridays, they prep for Saturday. And then Saturday is game day. And for some of the lucky ones, they have Sunday off. So they have to be really the best of them have to be really structured with their time, so that they know when they're going to do listing presentations, when they're going to do callbacks, when they're going to do negotiations, when they're going to do opens, all the time. So if you understand that if they have two or more deals running at any one time, plus all of the other stuff that's going on for them, turnover is important to them. Being able to actually get the deal done is just as important to them as getting a great outcome for their client. And the third thing, Ben, and this is something that you should never, ever, ever lose sight of, it's their results, their brand, the outcomes. Because what they want to do is get today's deal done and then run up to the top of the mountain, Ben, as far up the mountain as they can go, and they go, da-da-da-da-da-da, let me tell you what I just did. Because that is the nature of how they get their next gig. So,
and I think if I summarize that in terms of, that's why a selling agent will talk to their vendors about a marketing campaign. And that marketing campaign will have a period of time to build up that motivation, but then hopefully at the back end of it, build up that scarcity and that time value. So to Bryce's point, they can turn over those particular things. They don't want to hold on to stock for a longer period of time, because the longer that they have to work for their money, the less money that they potentially get a chance to make. I mean, at the end of the day, they've got a finite time like the rest of us. So they are trying to organize campaigns into maybe 4 or 6 weeks to try and get a result inside that period. If they can get a result sooner that's satisfactory to their vendor, they'll push for that as well. So Bryce's point, they can get to that turnover. And then off the back of that turnover builds reputation, and that reputation beats trust. And obviously that's the cycle that they're in. So I think that sets us up nicely in terms of understanding the middle person, who's basically going to be the conduit between the vendors and us as buyers.
They're very, very powerful, and they have information asymmetry, where they know the vendor, they know the motivation of the vendor, they know all the other buyers. That it is not fair. If life was fair, there'd be no food chain, Ben.
Yep.
So again, the mindset of a great negotiator is understanding that asymmetry. And so therefore, if we go back to the first part of this, framing the negotiation as a conversation, not a confrontation, your job as a negotiator is to try and release as much information through your skill and interaction with the agent and the circumstances that are presented to you. So that you are then in a position to jockey for the best position for you to get that property, which for a lot of people negotiating, Ben, they think it's all about price, but it's not.
It's not.
Price.
And Bryce, one of the big superpowers is the power of silence and patience. So can you explain and unpack that for us?
Yeah, because words can be a weapon, but silence can be more powerful too, right? So if you don't do what most people want to do and fill the space, you can stop yourself negotiating against yourself, or you could stop saying little innocent statements like, "Oh, my offer at the moment is 820,000." All the agent heard was at the moment.
Yeah.
That's all they had at the moment. So it's being aware that it's not what you say, it's how you say it, and sometimes it's the little things that you say that you think don't have a lot of meaning. So being a great negotiator means understanding the power of silence and the power of patience, because desperation kills leverage. And the amount of times, Ben, that I've had to overcome the urge to ring an agent and just check in to see how it's going. Oh my gosh, like scores and scores and scores of time, because as soon as you do, if you've done all your prep work up the ground, you put your offer in, all the comps, where you need to be. The part of that is not sending a subliminal message to the agent that you really want it, right? So patience is actually an incredible strategy, and for people who are negotiating, not very often. It's one thing to say it; it's another thing to be able to execute on. It's very, very challenging to do.